Hello, hi, how are you? Okay, I'm trying to see if there's anyone here, but even if there's not, I'll just start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my second in the series. So, a couple of people messaged me last week to find out if they missed the Atomic Habits review for the week. Hi, June. A couple of people messaged me to find out if they actually missed for last week. Hello, I can see a couple of people joining, but I didn't actually do the session last week. Hello, everyone. Hello, Auntie Anne. A couple of people are joining. So I didn't do it last week because there was a lot going on in my personal life. So I just didn't have the mental bandwidth and capacity to be able to do the session. So today is part 2 because I said I was going to do it throughout the whole of January. And so today was meant to be part 3, but we're going to do what we're supposed to do in part 2. So I can see a number of people joining. Thank you very much for joining my live today. And it's Atomic Habits. So a couple of people, if you've seen my reviews, what I've been doing, what I did a lot last year was I did a lot of reviews about books. But what I decided to do this year, and that's also kind of my reading goal for the year. Fumi says we're ready for this. Oh, I'm ready for this as well. I hope everybody, a lot of people have been telling me that I'm looking forward to this. I was like, expectations. Hi Sherry. Hi everyone. Thank you. Welcome for joining. Thank you for joining. But before I go into the review today, I thought that I would kind of introduce myself. I see people, do lives. This live thing is not really my strong suit, but I see a lot of people introduce themselves. Hi, Tolu. And I just thought I'd introduce myself and kind of give some background on why I'm doing this or why book reviews and why all this stuff. My name is Oyinda Mola, as you can see. My name is my name or my handle, and I am a mom of 2. I'm a change manager, and I just basically am someone who believes a lot in the fact that we can cultivate new habits. And when I talk about habits, I'm always talking about habits. I go on and on about it. It's not even necessarily not just because of Atomic Habits. I think it's generally who I've been. But then when I started reading and researching into the topic, and Atomic Habits was not even the first book I read about habits. There are a couple of other books that I've read, Gretchen Rubin's Better Than Before, which was another really good one. But it just kind of made me realize that, wow, this is who I am. This is, habits are one of the things that we can, there's something that James Clear says. He talks about habits being the compound interest of behavior change. So one of the reasons why I do this is because I'm doing this is because I want everyone to be able to see that we all can change for the better. We all can improve in various ways. We don't have to rely on motivation to do a lot of the things that we do. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. So in the last Atomic Habits review that we did, we spoke about how tiny changes actually eventually become big changes. So one of the things I hope people took away from the last session that we did was just don't be deterred by the changes that you want to make, especially when it's in the new year. On Instagram, we see all sorts of things, people, there's all sorts of diets, so many things being, new year, new you, and it can get overwhelming. I personally get turned off. I can be quite a contrarian sometimes, and I remember about 2-3 years ago or 4 years ago, I would intentionally not even write any goals in January because I was kind of rebelling against, all of this, new year, this pressure, and so it would be like, what's the difference between January 1st and any other day? But I know that was a bit immature of me sometimes, because there's nothing wrong with goals. There's nothing wrong with setting goals. There's nothing wrong with having New Year resolutions. It's just that a lot of times we don't actually look for the best ways for us to be able to attain those goals. So yesterday was what in the UK I don't know if it's in the UK, all over the world, they call it Blue Monday. And the reason why they call it Blue Monday is it's the 3rd Monday in January. It's cold, especially for those of us who live in western climes. It's cold, it's grey, by yesterday, according to the rules that they said, according to what they say, a lot of people have given up on their New Year resolutions. Salaries for those who are workers, salaries have not been paid, and for some people who've been paid since earlier on in December, they kind of, there's no money. Business people as well, it's January, sales are not as high as it normally would be in Christmas, so generally people have a slump. So in my office we had like a coffee Monday, just trying to keep people's spirits high, especially, and it's even worse in this situation because we are in a pandemic, and for a lot of us there's a lot of uncertainty, there's anxiety. If you listen to the news, there is a lot of anxiety and things that are going wrong. And so one of the reasons why I think, and one of the reasons why I am really, really in love with this book is that I think one of the things that allows people, they said by yesterday, a lot of people would have ditched their New Year resolutions, is because we look at things we don't look at it in a systematic way. We don't look at the little tiny changes that we can make. And then we set ourselves up for this really, really massive changes and end up not even being able to attain them. And that's what causes people to then say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, or it's not possible, it's not going to happen. So Atomic Habits, basically, what the book did for me, and not just did for me, it's something that I've always done, but it just kind of gave me a framework or a system into the way I already was. And so that's part of what I'm going to share today. Earlier on, I put up a post and talked about habit, the habit loop. And so one of the things that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits is that he talks about the fact that all habits, and when we're talking about habits here, we're talking about good habits and bad habits. We all have good habits and bad habits. As I'm talking here, I have some bad habits. I was doing something last night. I'm not good. Okay, let me share what last night. So I was on, I can see more people joining. Hello everyone. So I was on Instagram, and I maybe I'm one of those people that I've fallen off from the rules that they've given because I want to spend less time on my phone. So I have this app on my phone that kind of pushes me off. So normally it's supposed to push me off my phone at 21:45. So that's 9:45 at night. And so it kept on giving. So it'll be giving you signals and say 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes, 10 more minutes. And when it got to 9:45, I just switched it off. I was like, I want to be online, as in. And when I saw my usage, I was like, oh my God, I've gone over my threshold for the day, the threshold I set for myself for the day. So, and why was I doing that? And that was because I was getting something from it. There was a cue, after I did a lot of the things that I wanted to do, I picked up my phone and I just went down into the rabbit hole. And that happens to all of us. So for every habit, every good habit, every bad habit, there is a loop. And so the loop, I'm going to just talk about the loop. So you just bear with me if I look down a little, because I put down some notes because I wanted it to be systematic, and I wanted all those people who join, because even if you don't, Sherry says, what's the name of the app? Been looking for something like this. It's called Moment. I don't know if it's on the Google Play Store, but it's on the App Store called Moment, Moment. So it pushes you, set a timer limit of how much, and then you can do fasts. And if you pick up your phone, it will start having like a really funny annoying sound, and I'll be like, I had to switch it off because it was annoying me with the annoying sound that it was doing. I was like, what's your business? It's not my phone, I want to be on my phone. But don't mind me, that's wrong. That I shouldn't do that. I should listen to all of these systems I've put in place to stop some of these habits. So we'll talk about some of those as we go along. So James Clear, so last week, 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the tiny changes. If you get 1% better every day, eventually you'll be 37% better by the end of the year. But it then goes further to talk about the habit loop. And for every single one of us, we have 4 things that are the habit loops that he talks about in the book. So we have a cue. That's something that is a cue that within our brain that says we need to do something. Then what follows the cue is we have a craving. So that cue is like, okay, this is what, as in this is the reason for something. And I'll give some examples earlier. And then we have a response, and then we have a reward for everything that we do. And he gave some really good examples. I don't want to do so much reading from the book today, but he gave some really good examples. So like yesterday, like I said, my cue was after I finished, the kids went to bed, we did all of like the normal bedtime routine. I was sitting down and my phone was there. As in, I was like, okay, let me check some of my messages and a couple of things. And I picked up my phone. So that was the cue. So my phone was there. The cue was my phone was there. The craving was, I need to check my messages. And he talks about that in the book. As in, that's the craving, I need to check my messages. And the response was, I picked up my phone. The reward was, oh, I saw the messages. I saw all of the, I was scrolling through all of the things that I needed to scroll through. And what the habit loop does is that the habit loop, and when we're talking about behavior change and we're trying to build good habits, a lot of times and it was, I don't even think it was in Atomic Habits, it was somewhere else that I read it, and I think he also kind of mentioned it, but he mentioned it in a different way, is that the outcomes of, a lot of times, the rewards for bad habits are instant. So a lot of times, the rewards for your bad habits are immediately. You get a reward almost immediately. And a lot of times, the reward for your good habits are not what you get immediately. So I'll give an example of this habit loop kind of thing. So I am going to give an example. So I don't want to, I'm trying not to use fitness at all today. So skincare. So as I'm here, I don't think I've worn foundation. Obviously, we all know that we've been working for those of us that are working from home. We've been working from home for a while. We've not been going out. We've not been going out as much as we used to. But I'm not wearing foundation. I haven't worn foundation in a very long time. So an example of what we would call a cue when it comes to habits is, a couple of years ago, I realized that I'm not really that young anymore. And so my skin is just, naturally, I've never been someone who's had like bad skin issues. I've always had relatively good skin, relatively clear skin. But as I grew older, I realized, and I'm not that old, so don't start trying to think about, I'm not that old. But as you grow older, as soon as you go over 25 or 30, things that you just didn't used to think about are not necessarily the same anymore. And I realized that I was beginning to have like some hyperpigmentation. My skin wasn't looking as great as it used to be. And in my 20s, and when I was like younger, I used to wear a lot of makeup. I used to wear a lot of makeup, as in, I used to even wear makeup to sit at home. As in, I don't know if any of my friends, like my friends that knew me from when I was much younger, they used to have a nickname for me called Ever Ready. I was that person who would finish having my bath, even I'm not going anywhere, and put on a full face of makeup. But as I grew older and I started having responsibilities, adulting responsibilities, my children were young, going to work, doing so many things, makeup wasn't necessarily the thing that I wanted to spend so much time on. And so one of the things I wanted to do was like, I want to be able to go out without having to wear a full face of foundation. Okay, so somebody who went to uni with me said, yeah, last year, yes, I was one of those people that used to wear foundation all the time. But obviously, and then I live in the UK as well, where it's a very DIY society. You do a lot of things yourself, so I didn't want to be spending a lot of time. I didn't want to be spending a lot of time on makeup. It's just, I didn't want to be spending, and I wanted a situation whereby I could just not wear foundation and just go out and not look so as I said, I'm not wearing foundation as I am now. And so the cue, I'm going to habits, was like, I need to start taking better care of my skin. And what I mean by taking better care of my skin is not necessarily like anything really massive. It's just like, if you speak to anybody who's a skincare esthetician or a skincare person, they will tell you that some of the things that you need to do are like wash your face, don't sleep with makeup, cleanse properly, moisturize, use sunscreen, do all of those things. Yeah, I can see somebody, I can see Sister PJ, she's on the line, she's saying yes, she's a skincare person, she's a Mary Kay consultant, and she also consults on skincare. So she's always on like talking about, you need to take care of your skin, you need to take care of your skin. So she's agreeing with me. And so when we come into the habit loop that we're talking about, and I spoke about rewards earlier. So A cue is, so she's giving tips. She's giving tips in the comments. So look at her tips on the comment. So the cue that I was talking about earlier is, for instance, and this is, the morning is fine because a lot of us will, I think I'm back now. Sorry, my internet connection, and I've been looking at the router here. Can you hear me? Can you please let me know if you can hear me now? Because I know I am aware that I blanked off. Can you hear me now? Please type it in the comments. What I'll try. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Let me know if you can. Yeah, we can hear me now. Thank you very much. So, like I said, so the reward that I was talking about. So the cue, the night time is one that I never used to be that person who used to wash my face at night. It's very difficult to wash my face at night, as in I just used to just go straight to bed. And so the cue was, I need to go to bed. I'm feeling sleepy. The craving is, I am feeling sleepy. I want to sleep, as in I just want to sleep. I just want to go to bed, as in all this washing your face is just long. The response is either one of two things, and that's why I was talking about the habit loop is in 4 ways. So the craving, the cue is, it's time for bed, it's night. The craving is, I want to go to bed, I just need my bed right now. The response is, I just go to bed like that without washing my face, or I go to bed with the makeup on my face, or I go to bed and I don't worry about it. And the reward is, I'm feeling sleepy and I'm sleeping and I'm happy and I've slept and I'm in my bed. And that's the reward. So that's a short-term reward. The short-term reward that I'm getting is, yes, I don't have to wash my face and I'm in bed. But the long-term, so let's flip it. The long-term, if the long-term reward is, let's go back to my response. So my response is, I go to bed, and my reward is, as in I've gone to bed. The other response that I can flip for the habit that I want to build is, I was like, okay, let me just wait 5 minutes. As in, instead of me, my reward is 5 minutes. Let me just wait 5 minutes and go and wash my face, cleanse my face, use a moisturizer, use a serum or something, and then go to bed. The delayed gratification there is I'm not sleeping. So my reward that I'm getting, and when I said, a lot of times your reward for good habits tends to be long term. So when I started washing my face and doing all of that, I didn't see the results for a while. Sometimes I'll be like, what is the point of all this? But now, 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years down the line, I'm beginning to get the results and the reward. So guess what my reward is now? My reward is, I can come on this live without foundation on my face because I logged off work, came out of work, logged off work, spoke to my children, made dinner, did so many things, and I can jump on this live without having to think, oh, I don't want people to see my face because I haven't used foundation. I've saved time. As in, I literally just put on, I was like, okay, you know what? I didn't even want to put on lipstick. I was like, okay, let me put on lipstick. Let me just try and look a bit nice for you guys. But it would have taken me more time to have to put on foundation, do all of that. So my reward is long term. So that is what it is when we approach habits. It says there's always, for every habit that we have, is to solve a problem. For every single habit that we have, every single thing that we do, every behavior that we do, there is a problem and a solution phase. What is the solution phase that you're choosing? Are you choosing the short-term reward? So I'll use another example. You go shopping. Your cue is, you've left the house. I'm going shopping. I have a list. I'm going to spend £50. This is what I'm, as in it's £50 I'm going to spend. This is what I want to spend. Or you're going shopping for groceries, and then within the shopping center that you have your Tesco's. So apologies for those people know in the UK, but it's the same everywhere. You go to a shopping center, there's Tesco's. Your cue is you go into the shopping center. You're going shopping. Your craving is you walk past River Island. You walk past River Island and there's a jacket that you did not say you were going to buy, or a top that you did not say you were going to buy. And you've already said, this is how much I want to spend. I already have enough tops. I don't want to buy any tops. So the craving is, I see that top. Oh my God, this top is beautiful. It's orange. God, I've been looking for orange top and everything. Your response is, okay, let me go into the shop. So your response is, let me go into the shop. Let me have a look at it. You look at it. It's even in my size. As in, someone from the shop from River Island comes and says, oh, hi, you need any help? As in, you try it on. That's your response. You wear it. It was like, oh my God, it looks so nice on me. Your reward is, oh my God, I like this top. It really looks nice on me. Now, this is a disclaimer. I'm not saying it's bad. You can see that I like looking good. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in looking good. But your reward is you buy it, they wrap it, and you get home and you're happy that you have the top. That is your response and your reward. Short term. Long term reward is response. Your cue is, I go past River Island. Your craving is, oh my God, that top is beautiful. Your response is, nah, I said I'm not going to spend more than £50 on this trip because I have a target of something. I'm saving for a holiday or I'm saving for my mortgage or something, So as in, I need to be more disciplined about how I spend. So I'm not spending this £50. I'm not spending more than this £50. So it means that I'm not going into River Island. So I walk past River Island and I go to Tesco. The reward for me not walking into River Island is not immediate. It's not now. And it might look like, how much the top? The top was just £40. But by the time you save that £40, that, the top that you might not even wear. The other day I was looking through my wardrobe. There's so many clothes that I haven't worn. I haven't worn 3/4. I was just thinking about it. I haven't worn 3/4 of my wardrobe since March last year. 3/4. I was checking through. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just wear this. And this, I went back to work yesterday and I've just been trying to look a bit, just try to make an effort a bit because I haven't been wearing my clothes and I don't even know if some of them are going to size me anymore. So the long-term reward is kind of painful, but when you're on that holiday, 9 months down the line, your savings habit, you're getting the reward for the savings habit. So I hope I've been able to kind of explain that habit loop. So today, what I want us to take away, some of the things I want us to take away today is when you're about to do anything, think about what are the responses, and it goes again. So I'm going to try and look at some of the first laws of behavior change today. So what I want you to take, if you're taking notes or if you're trying to think of what you can say, what are the cues that trigger your current habits? I know I've got like a number of bad habits. I know one of the cues and triggers for my bad habits is when I'm watching TV. I don't know about anybody else. As much as people think I'm fit fam, when I'm watching TV, I find it difficult not to eat. Regardless of if I'm watching TV, as in the Christmas holidays was just something else because I was sleeping late. I was, Netflix and Amazon, and I was watching all sorts, and I was just eating all sorts because the trigger on the cue for me for the craving is I find it difficult to watch TV or to watch a show. So if I'm watching a series, I want, as in, something needs to be entering my mouth. Something needs to, and that's my reward. As in, so my response, as in, there's a cue, I'm watching TV. My craving is, oh, I need to eat something. I need to want something. My response is, I go to the kitchen, I put something in my mouth. And then my reward is, oh, I feel good. But I can see it on my clothes. So I've gotten my rewards, but I can actually see it. I can feel it on my clothes in January. I can feel it on my clothes. If I continue that way, I'm going to continue seeing it on my clothes. So what I want you to take away from today is, what are the cues? Make a conscious effort to think about the cues that trigger your current habits, because all of us have habits. When we're talking about atomic habits, people always say, we all do everything. We all have habits. So when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, it's an habit. When you, it's something that, what is a habit? A habit is an habitual action that just is the way you act. So we all have habits. And there are good habits and bad habits that we all have. So one of the best ways to look at behavior changes, one of the things that James Clear talks about in his book, is that the key to changing behavior or the cue to changing your habits is being aware of it, because there is a danger in not being aware. So like you say, if I know that when I watch TV, my cue is I want to start eating something, it doesn't necessarily mean, so this is me here trying to say, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's necessarily a bad thing anyway. But what do I then need to do? I need to make sure that I'm not eating crisps, or I'm not eating chips. I need to try and make sure that I'm eating maybe something that is not going to, maybe something healthier, or something that's not going to make me feel bloated, something that's just going to make me feel a bit better. So once you're able to be aware, the first step in behavior change is the awareness. You need to be aware to say, okay, the example I gave earlier about savings, I can't go past the shop without wanting to go into the shop and spend money. So if you're aware of your cues, you then begin to put controls in place. So for some people, if they want to build a savings habit, one of the responses or one of the things, and we're going to talk about things that we do, that you can do, your environmental blockers to allow you to do those changes is, I don't go out with my card. I go out with cash only, because I know that if I go out with my card, once I have that craving, my response is I am going to spend money. So if I want to build a savings habit, I then move on to saying, okay, you know what, I'll always, give myself a limit of, okay, this is how much I'm going to spend, and I'm not going to go past that. So once you are aware, you then begin to change your environment. And that's what he talks about. There's a lot of examples that he gave. He used an example of a particular hospital where everybody used to go to vending machines to buy soft drinks, or to buy fizzy drinks. And one of the ways, and everybody wanted to say, oh, I want to change, I want to stop drinking fizzy drinks. Sorry, if fizzy drinks are there, you will drink fizzy drinks. You need to change it. So they changed it to water, and then there was water there, and they said a 37% rise in people drinking water. So it's recognizing that when I go to the vending machine, there is a possibility that I'm going to buy a fizzy drink. The best thing to do is don't go to the vending machine with a fizzy drink. That is how you begin to. So a lot of what it comes to habits is, a lot of times we talk about things like motivation, or I'm not disciplined. We're human beings, as in there's a certain amount of limit to discipline that you can have, or self-motivation, or self-control. I just don't have self-control. No, as in, it's not about you having self-control. You need, and that's why he says you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. What systems, and this kind of things I'm talking about, are the systems that you put in place to build good habits and to also try to ditch bad habits. So once you are aware, as I said, you need to be aware. One thing he said, and you can go to his website. He has James Clear's website. He has a habit scorecard, and this is another exercise that I think that people can take away as well. And I also want you to not think about it in a very judgmental way. Is think about your day, or think about the current habits that you have. What are the habits? As in, if you want to change something, you have to think about where you are. I work in a part of my job is process improvement. So we do a lot of process improvement. And before we can actually begin to start process improvement, before we do value stream mapping, or before we begin to look at how a process works, or how do we want to improve it, the first thing we always do, we can't even start it, is we always do a diagnostic. And we need to look at it. And for people who work in that sector, you know what I'm talking about. You have to look at the as-is. You have to look at the baseline. This is where you're starting from. For them to then say, okay, this is where we're starting from, and this is the improvements that we've made, and this is the benefits that we're going to get from it. So you can apply that same principle to your habits as well. What are the current habits? What are the current root cause? What are the current habits? And don't look at it what he says in his book is that he talks about you not looking at it as if you want to look at yourself, God, CDB, I'm always eating cake. I didn't know. You need to look at it in there. And I know it's difficult to be able to do that to yourself sometimes, but it's that ability to be able to have that honest introspection, and that honest ability to say, okay, what are those habits? What are those things that I do? Okay. And I've actually done this exercise. And it's looking at my day. There are a lot of things I do now, and people always say, Linda, how do you find time to do these things? But the reason why I sometimes find time to do these things is because I look at some of the things. I spoke about my phone earlier. Hello, more people are joining. I looked at my phone earlier. I talked about my phone earlier, and I told you that I did a really horrible thing and I didn't listen to what my phone was saying. But it was me actually saying, okay, there are things that I want to do, but I don't find myself doing them. How exactly am I spending my day? How exactly am I spending my day? And that's what a habit scorecard would do for you. And don't look at it as bad or good. When you look at, so when what I want you to do is, don't approach it as, oh, these habits are bad or these habits are good. Yeah, there are bad habits, but I want you to approach it in a way of you thinking, I want to become more aware of myself. There's no way you can actually address something if you're not aware of it. So look at that habit tracker that you want to look at. Before you even begin to say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Look at where you are currently. Do a gap analysis of, okay, all of these things that I'm talking about, all of these things that I do, and, I'm not talking about I brush my teeth and all of those things, but just think about how you spend your day. It could be as high level as that. How do I spend my day? When I finish work, okay, when I finish work, then I do this and I do that. Habit is I want it to be a habit for some people who have younger children. The habit could be, I want to read to my children. I want me and my children to read every night. But I just find myself that I can't do it. Okay, so you then begin to look at your day. Why doesn't this happen? Why am I finding it difficult to read with my children or read to my children every night? And then you look at, okay, what do we do? Okay, so when we finish dinner, we wash plates, okay, then the kids wear their pajamas and all of that. Or, we get ready for bed. Then you just look at it and you'll be like, okay, so how can we then fit in this change that we want to make? How can we fit into what we currently have? It's not looking at it to say, okay, we want to crucify ourselves or we want to make ourselves feel bad. You look at all of those habits and you say, which of these things, I in my last live, we spoke about looking at identity-based outcomes when you're looking at habits. So you don't think of yourself as someone who reads books. So an example is, I don't think of myself as someone who reads books. I think of myself as a reader. I don't think of myself as someone who wants to, I just want to exercise. No, I think of myself as, my identity is, I'm a person who exercises. So if you begin to think of yourself as someone who reads, sorry, I know that is very obvious that I'm using reading. But if I look at myself as someone who reads, then I look at my habits. When I do the habit scorecard and I say, okay, look at all my habits. So if I am someone who reads, out of all of these habits, which of these are going to be able to make me that person who reads? Which of these things can I cut out, or which of these things can I look into that will make me become that person who reads? So I'll give an example. I'm always sharing. I think I've shared it on blogs. I've shared it on so many things. 5 years ago, I think for about 5 years, I didn't finish one book. When people look at me, I was like, I did not finish one book in a year. I struggled to finish even one book. But then I realized that I would, and then every year I would say, I want to read more. When they were talking about Blue Monday, I want to read more. When I write my review, I would say, read more. But there was no way I could actually read more because there was no intention behind it. As in, I didn't look at the things. And when I was saying I want to read more, oh my God, as in, I don't really watch the TV anymore. That time, hey, I was watching EastEnders, Coronation Street, as in all of them, and then I'll watch this, and then I'll watch that. I had Sky Living, Sky this, I had all sorts I was watching TV. I was still busy, my children, but I was watching all the TV that you can think about. And it's not like there's anything wrong with watching TV. But then I thought, how can I read more? It means I need to cut down on, if my identity is someone who reads, as a reader, I need to look at my current habits. I'm spending so much time watching TV. How do I cut down that TV time and fit in reading time? How do I cut in and fit in reading time? Yes, family affairs, Emma, all of them. I need to cut down some of those to be able to fit in reading. So it's when I'm saying look into your habits, it's not you trying to crucify yourself. And this is not just reading. This is savings. I want to be a saver. There's so many habits. There's so many, I'm not here to, I don't like being prescriptive. And I think what's going to work for me might not work for you. But what is the person that you want to become? What is that thing that you want to do? If you're someone that says, I want to save for this particular thing, it might not be a good idea to be spending money on something on frivolities. If you want to save money for a particular thing, you want to build a savings habit, you say, okay, I want to save £500 or £1,000 or £2,000 every month. I want to save it. It's not a good idea to probably be going on Amazon every night. Your Amazon habit is not going to yield your saving habit. I have a project that I want to do. I want to, I said, I want to buy a house, or I want to build a house, I want to do something. You need to look at what you are currently doing that is going to hinder you from doing that. Not in a judgmental way, but in a way that allows you to look at it in a very objective manner. So you have to be more aware of yourself. You have to be more aware of your current habits. You need to move. So then another thing that he talked about, and another nugget I want to drop as well, is for a change to occur, you need to have something called an implementation intention. So when he talked about implementation intention, he says it's not enough to say, I want to save more. And I've given examples earlier. I want to save more. No. An implementation intention is, as soon as I get paid, I'm going to save £500. And I'm sure most of the people that are listening have heard about SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So it needs to be, so when he says it's not, and when we talk about SMART goals sometimes, smart, measurable, and all of that is good, but there needs to be an implementation intention put to it. I want to build a savings habit. What do you mean by I want to build a savings habit? I want to save £20. As soon as I get paid, or as soon as my income comes in, the £20 is coming out on the 27th. So for instance, I get paid on the 27th of the month. As implementation intention for me, and this is just an example, if I want to build a savings habit, is on the 27th of the month when I get paid, a certain amount goes as a standing order from my account. That is an implementation intention. I want to read more. Goes into, I want to read 30 minutes every night at 9 o'clock. I know that sounds a bit pedantic, or it sounds a bit too much, but yes, if you actually want it to become what you do, you need to be that specific about it. You need to, you have to put something to, you have to put an implementation that will allow you to achieve that. I want to eat healthy, I want to eat healthy is not, it's not a way you want to build a habit. I'm going to have, for my lunch and my dinner, I have to make sure that I put vegetables on my lunch and my dinner. So as in a couple of people here are Nigerian, we Nigerians, we love our rice. So this is not you saying, I'm not going to eat my jollof rice anymore. It's me saying, okay, I'll eat my jollof rice, but I will put veg with it, and there's always going to be veg when I'm eating my jollof rice. So you need to put your implementation intention into, depending on what the habit is, depending on what you're trying to build, depending on the behavior you're trying to change, there needs to be an implementation intention, as he says in the book, that allows you to be able to bring that thing into how you're going to do it. So you implement and you say, okay, this is when I'm going to do it. This is the time I'm going to do it. He gave an example of when they asked people in certain areas of they did a study of people who, people always make New Year resolutions every year and say, I want to exercise, or I want to become fit. The people who were most successful, so they said some people, they gave them motivation videos, there were a set of people, they gave them motivation videos. This one said, yes, I'm going to exercise more. The people that exercised, that found and still sustained the habit, and I am a good example of that. The way you sustain the habit is saying, I am going to exercise on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 in the morning. So that is the intention that you need to get, and that's why it's called an intention. An implementation intention. It's not just you saying I'm going to do it, is being specific about when you're going to do it. Another strategy that he talks about is habit stacking. So he talked about something called habit stacking, and habit stacking is, as I said, remember I said you look at all of your habits now. So there are certain things that you like. So he used an example, I don't even know, was it him or somebody I saw, that said, there are habits, there are things that people do. There are a lot of things that you currently do now, but you want to add something to it. You want to, as in, there are things you do now, but you want to change. You want to have a desired outcome. You want to have a goal that you're trying to move. What are the things and what are the habits that you can put into what you already do now that would allow you to be able to get? Hello, everyone. So a lot of people are joining. We're talking about atomic habits, and I've been talking about the habit loop. I've spoken about implementation, how you make habits, how you put your habits into how you look at ways where your habits, you would actually do those things that you say you want to do. So what habit stacking does is, habit stacking allows you to be able to add something to what you're already doing. So you remember the example I gave earlier. So there are people who like watching TV. You're already watching TV, aren't you? What you do is you add something to it. So some people said, okay, I like watching TV. What I'll do is I like watching Netflix. So because I already like watching Netflix, I'll go on the treadmill and I'll put my treadmill, I'll put my iPad or my phone on my treadmill, and while I'm watching Netflix, which I'm already doing anyway, I'm running or I'm walking. Or I like listening to music, so I'll add it to something that I already do. So what habit stacking does is, you already have things that you're doing, but you add to it. So I'll give another example. I like giving practical examples. Especially when COVID, not necessarily COVID, but COVID increases it a bit, is using multivitamins. And there's something that my mom always used to be worried about me, was the fact that I don't use medicine very well. I'm that person that when I was in Nigeria, I used to have malaria a lot. I used to have typhoid fever a lot. I used to have all of these things a lot. And when you have all of those things, they will give you antibiotics. So you have to have an antibiotic. Thank God for mercy and grace. They will give you an antibiotics dose and say you have to finish it in 14 days. Me, never. As in, I'll use it for 10 days. After like day 11, I'm not using it anymore. Or I'm supposed to use it morning, afternoon, and night. I will miss afternoon. I just never done well with medicine. I've never done well with taking medication. So when they're like, okay, you need to start using multivitamins, using your vitamin D, your vitamin C, and all of that. Not necessarily because of COVID alone, but generally for your immunity, to bring up the nutrients that you use, especially vitamin D for those of us that live in the UK. Always forgetting. So habit stacking, what did I do? I can say for like the past one year now, I have been using my multivitamins every day. So what do I do? So I'll give an example of how I stack my habits on the things that I need to do. So I wake up in the morning, and I'll add to that as well. As in, I wake up in the morning. I know that when I wake up in the morning, and I never used to be a morning person, but let's talk about habit stacking. I said I used to like watching TV. Okay, so I started going to bed earlier. So instead of going to bed at 12 o'clock, I started going to bed at 10:30, so that I'll be able to wake up earlier. So that habit of sleeping early has a stacking effect on me waking up early. So wake up early from 4:45. And again, this is me not saying anybody needs to wake up at 4:45 or wake up at 5 o'clock. This is personal. You need to look for what works for you. I'm just saying what works for me, just to give a practical example. So I wake up at 4:45 a lot of times, sometimes I snooze my alarm. But 5, I'm up by 5. First thing I do when I go downstairs, and again, it goes back to something else I'm going to talk about, which is your environment as well. My workout clothes. So when I say I sleep early, my exercise clothes are ready. I always set them out before I go to bed. So I wake up, because I know that I'm going to struggle in the morning and I'm going to be tired and I want to sleep, my exercise clothes are ready. So the first thing I do is I wear my exercise clothes. That is a cue for me to go downstairs. Once I go downstairs, on the kitchen table, so I go into the kitchen, the first thing on the kitchen table is my bottle of water. And that's my bottle of water that is here today. Next to it, where I keep it, is my multivitamins. So I'm picking up my bottle of water, my multivitamins are there, I'm using my multivitamins. It's a habit that I wanted to cultivate. And because I stacked it onto something else, because if I remember, it depends, if it works for various people, it could be somebody else, it could be when they want to eat, put it beside your food or something. But for me, that's what works. So as soon as I pick up my bottle of water, because this bottle of water, before I go to bed, I'll fill it. So I'll fill the bottle of water. It's next to my multivitamins. I wish I could show around what I mean. It's there. I use my multivitamins, and that's it. That's the habit that I want to build after using my multivitamins. My workout clothes. You would think, why am I wearing my workout clothes? And then I pray. And that's because I wanted to build a praying habit as well. Because I realized that, okay, I when I wake up in the morning, the first person I want to talk to is God. And so, but I also want to exercise. So the habit cue in my brain is, once I wear my workout clothes, it's time for me to drink my water and my multivitamins, and it's time for prayer. As soon as prayer finishes, because I'm wearing my workout clothes already, the trigger in my brain is I either go out for my walk or I do my exercise that I want to do. And that's before the kids wake up. So all of those things has stacked for me to be able to do what I need to do. If I leave it to chance, without planning it in that way, I probably won't use my multivitamins. I probably won't exercise. And as I'm saying, I'm not still perfect. Over the Christmas holidays, because my routine just went haywire because I wasn't sleeping, I found that, and this is where I say I'm a creature of habit. My routine was out of kilt. I was waking up at 8 o'clock. Because I was sleeping late, I wasn't putting my water bottle out. And because I wasn't putting my water bottle out, I wasn't using my multivitamins. There were days when I didn't use my multivitamins. So all of these things are things that, and again, I'm not saying you need to be rigid about it, but if you can be consistent, and I do this consistently Monday to Friday. Even if it's not, as in I give myself a bit of a leeway on Saturday and Sunday. But Monday to Friday consistently, this is what I do. And you need to look for what works for yourself. So habit stacking allows you to have a single step to guide your future behavior. My multivitamins beside my water is what allows me to be able to take my multivitamins. So I'm not that person that takes my multivitamins. So putting those things in place, hello everyone, putting those things in place allows you to be able to have a better chance of sticking to those habits. If I said, okay, you know what, let me remind myself to use my multivitamins, I probably will remind myself to use my multivitamins. So you need to, another thing I also wanted to note, and something he spoke about is, and I think I've kind of mentioned it as well, is when choosing your habit stack, you need to make sure that it is the right time and location for you, for your lifestyle. So I just gave an example of my lifestyle. Your lifestyle, that might not work for you. It might be that time in the morning is not just going to work for you. It might be, okay, the best time for me to use my multivitamins is because I work out, so I would eat breakfast. Some people don't eat breakfast. Some people don't like breakfast. So they don't eat until maybe like 12 or 1, or they don't eat until lunch. So theirs could be, yours could be, I'm going to have my multivitamins and I'll make sure that it's next to my lunch. I'm going to add it to when I have my lunch. Or I'm going to, you need to work out the time and location for you. It might not work for someone who works nights. I don't work nights. So if someone that is working nights, at that time, they're just coming back from work. So their habit stack could be, as soon as I come in and I drop and I take off my shoes and take off my jacket, I'll do this, So you need to make sure that your habit stack works for your time, your location, and your lifestyle, and the season. And another thing I always want to add as well is your season of life. I see a lot of people who, especially young people who have younger children. My children are still young, but they're not young like that anymore. A lot of the things I'm talking about might not have worked if I had a child that didn't sleep all night. If I'm waking up to breastfeed 3 times a night, it might not, 5 o'clock might not be the time for me to say I want to pray. Your time might be, okay, I want to pray at 12 o'clock. So look at your time, look at your location, to look at the habits. Because if you set it up and you listen to me today and say, Oyinda says she wakes up at 5 o'clock. Oyinda says that she walks out as soon as she finishes praying. Oyinda says no, it might not work for you, and that's how it's going to feel. So you need to look for a right time and location that works for you. Hello, I can see a lot more people are joining. So also, another thing you need to notice is that your cue has to have the same frequency as the habit that you want to build. The thing that triggers you doing that thing. So if you need to use multivitamins every day, and so I'll use an example. I'm trying to think of a practical example. So you say, it's when I'm getting ready for church. If you need to use your multivitamins every day, you only go to church on Sunday, or if you're a Muslim, you go to mosque on Friday. That's not going to work because you want to use your multivitamins every day. So your cue for the ways you're going to stack your habits are going to be based on the things and the frequency of what you want, the change that you want to make. So 2 strategies that I've shared: implementation, intentions. If you want to start a particular habit, you need to put intention to say, I am going to do this. As I said, once I wake up, I know that I want to use my multivitamins at this particular time. That's the best way for you to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Habits, the second one I talked about is habit stacking. Something that you already look for something that you already do, and then add that desired behavior change to that thing that you already do. And it just makes it easier because our human mind is very, very interesting. We just automatically do things in a certain way. And both the bad habits that we have and the good habits that we have, we go into autopilot when we do it. So if you stack it and say, okay, funny enough, it's a signal in my brain kind of thinks now that when I'm wearing when I wear my workout clothes, it means I have to work out. The days where I struggle, where I'm like, oh God, I haven't worked out, it's because I haven't brought out my workout clothes. It's because I haven't put my running shoes or haven't put my exercise shoes next to my bed or something. I just find it more difficult. So those things, yes, thank you very much, Mudupe. Implementation, intention, habit stacking. Add something to something. So as soon as I wake up from the bed, I see my shoes, I know that. Or as soon as I wake up, literally my workout clothes are in front. As in when I wake up, that's the first thing I see. Again, as I'm going to talk about, as I said, your environment. You need to make your environment work for you. I don't drink Coke. I used to be addicted to Coke. I don't drink, and when I say Coke, I mean Coca-Cola. I used to drink Coca-Cola, but I don't buy Coca-Cola in my house because I'm making the environment work for me. And now it's a habit where I don't even know how Coke tastes anymore. I haven't had a bottle of Coca-Cola in 15 years. I don't even know how it tastes anymore. But before I got there, if you're trying to build a habit, you say, I don't want to drink that many fizzy drinks. If you rely on self-control, you're going to probably fail. You need to rely on making your environment work for you. Self-control, there's something he said here. I'll read that quote. He says, self-control is a short-term strategy. Instead of always trying to control yourself, optimize your environment. I just don't have, and that's where another thing that's in, we then begin to, beat up ourselves. I have 5 minutes left because I intentionally don't want this to be more than 1 hour. We beat up ourselves. We say, I'm just not disciplined. I see that person. No, it's not that person is not more disciplined than you. I know that there's a place for discipline, but a lot of times the reason why we think we don't have that discipline is because we set ourselves up to fail. We've not put in the things, we've not optimized our environment, we've not taken those things that are going to allow us. You can't say, I want to read more. I just want to read more. And then there are no books around you. Sorry, I'm always going to use books as an example. There's never books around you. There's no way you're going to read more. So you need to make intentions. When I wanted to start reading again, I actually started picking out books and saying, this is the book I want to read. And I find myself reading because, in short, I don't think for the next 3 years, I have books that I want to read. So there's no way I'm going to stop reading because there are books that I want to read for the next 3 years because my environment is optimized in a way where there are books around me. It helps with children as well. If there are books around, children would pick up the reading habit. So it works inversely as well. It works in the other way as well. If you set your environment up for failure, or if you set your environment up for the bad habits that you want to continue to have, if you don't have food, for instance, you'd be like, I want to eat healthy, but you never have healthy food at home, there is a possibility that because your environment is set up for the unhealthy food that you have, you are going to probably eat unhealthy. So that's all I wanted to share today. I didn't want to take an information overload, and I said I want these sessions to be very very actionable. So as you go, it rings in your head, and it's ringing in my own head as well. I'm already beginning to think of things that as I finish this live now and the kids go to bed, I'm thinking of things because, as I said, the bad habits has kind of come back from over the Christmas holidays, where as soon as I'm watching TV, so one of the things I'm doing to combat that is just going to bed. Instead of sitting down and watching TV and watching series or even it's given coming to reading, I just this bad habit of snacking, and I'm a perpetual snacker. So one of the things I'm trying to do now is, okay, as soon as I have my herbal tea, let me just go to bed, because if I don't go to bed, I'm just going to start snacking. So that's all I wanted to share today from Atomic Habits. I just want to quickly recap, for us to build good habits and stop bad habits or those habits, you need to be aware. So quickly, you need to be aware of your current habits. It might seem a bit too much. I don't think it is. I've done this exercise, especially when I read Atomic Habits, is look at who do you want to become? What is those good habits that you want to build? Who is that person? Who is, I'm a person that reads. I'm a person that exercises. I'm a person who has clear skin. I'm a person who saves. Then look at all your habits now, the current habits that you have that hinders you from being that person. And then for those good habits that you want to build, do the implementation intention. I want to read. I'm going to read every night before I go to bed. I'm going to read 30 minutes before I go to bed at this time. You need to put an implementation intention there. Hello, everyone. Some people are joining again. You need to put an implementation intention. Then another strategy that you can use is habit stacking, which you talked about in the book, is when you already look at the habits. So as I said, you look at the habits that you have, that you already have, and then the desired behavior change, you put things on top of it. So if you like watching Netflix, and for those of us in the UK, it's difficult for us to go to the gym now, but I want to go on the treadmill, watch Netflix while you're on the treadmill, so many things that you could add to those habits that you want to change. So that's all I wanted to share today. Thank you very much for joining the live. I really enjoyed this. And next week we'll look at the other strategies, the laws of behavior change. So the one I'm looked at today was what he called make it obvious. But then next week we'll look at the other laws of behavior change, which is make it attractive, and the other one. So I hope I'm able to do it, as in, God willing, I'm sure I'll be able to do it. And I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining, and have a lovely evening. I'll store this as well for those so that you can watch the full show. But I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much. Have a lovely, lovely evening.